Hi there, this is Phil Simborg, teaching pro for the USBGF, and I often invite top teachers and lecturers to uh, add their 2 cents or offer their ideas and opinions, and very fortunate to be partners with one of the best players and teachers in the world, Stick, who is a member of the Backgammon Learning Center along with myself and Harry Gartner and John O'Hagan. We're a teaching group, and David Rockwell is our advisor and helps us with lesson plans as well. And I think the most important thing in this video from Stick is not the answer that he comes up with to this play, but it's the process that he uses to get his answer, to check his answer, and to follow through. It is the process that we all teach at the Backgammon Learning Center on how to come to a proper checker play decision, and we do it every time, and we recommend doing it every time. Of course, unless the play is automatic, and even that's a scary word because except for an opening 3-1, uh, you really shouldn't be on automatic pilot. You're going to make mistakes. So listen carefully to the process that Stick is recommending here and see how well it works. And I guarantee you, if you use it, your checker play will get better too. Thank you, Stick, for volunteering your time to support the USBGF and offer this as a benefit to the membership. So, without further ado, here's Stick.
All right, I was forwarded this position by one of our students at the Backgammon Learning Center and asked to give my 2 cents worth. Usually when that happens, people give me change back, but I'm going to give it to everyone here. Phil asked me to do a video for the USBGF for it. I'm going to try and do more on a monthly basis, more of these type videos for the USBGF. So the first thing I'd like to do before we tackle the problem is remind you this is a video, so right now when you're taking in the problem, you should just pause it before I keep talking. Figure out what you think's going on, what you would play, the why, and then hit start again, so you just don't hear my explanation without thinking about the position. The second little sidebar I'd like to note is how to go about looking at a position, because I feel like everyone who looks at positions, for example, who is watching this now, you probably looked at the board. You may have, I don't know what details you glanced at to take in, but I feel like your focus would have been on the 5-4 to play. And that's about the last part you should be focused on. I know it's hard to ignore the dice. They're really big there in the middle of the board, but they're not the main part of what's going on. What you need to understand to make the right play is not what the dice are. What you do is need to take it slow, and you need to get all the factors of the position, internalize them. For example, the first thing I look at when someone shows me a problem, whether it be on the forums or in an email or over the board, or when I'm just playing against, XG, I try to, first, obviously, I will know the score. And here the score could make a big difference because it's 4-way, 3-way. One of the trickiest, if not the trickiest scores out there. Very hard to understand all the nuances of this score. So you need to register that and what that means as far as take points and gammon values and how soon someone might be cubing. After that, I would take a look at the pip count, because the pip count's often an indicator of how you're going to play. And now after that, I'm going to look at the position. I'm still not looking at the dice. I still wish there was a magic way to cover those up, which I could have done for you, but I wanted to see if I could trick you into looking at the dice first. So then you should be looking at the position and just figuring out what is going on for both people. What is Black's game plan? What is White's game plan? How does Black's position feel like it's going to play? How does White's feel like it's going to play? And then last, you should put the dice roll out there and see what it means to you. Once the dice are out there, hopefully you narrow this down pretty quickly to 2 general plays I feel like humans are going to look at. Doesn't mean they're the top 2 plays. It just means they're the 2 plays I think any human would look at. I feel like jumping out to the midpoint will jump out immediately to a human. Doing this obviously escapes the back checker, which is usually good. It does so when we're going to be up a few pips in the race after the roll. we're going to be up 7 pips, but keep the opponents on roll, and typically that's worth about 4 pips, so really only up just a few pips. Not a big deal. Does escape a back checker, though, and really leaves us out of harm's way for the most part. We have to contrast that with the other play of 13-4. 13-4 has a lot going for it. First thing it does for me is it slots the point we want to make next, and we would like to make it quickly. Quickest way to make it, when you can't make it flat out, is to slot it and make it next turn. So we slot it right now, hope to make it next turn. And doing this, black is going to have to try to tiptoe around the board the rest of the game, or be severely punished when he leaves shots and gets hit. Whether indirect, direct shots, they're always going to be costly anytime they're hit once we get our 4-point made. And looking at black's position, it's kind of stripped and stacked. So just from the overall feel of black's position, you should understand that he probably is likely to leave at least indirect shots, bringing this thing home. He has to roll really well not to leave shots and shots and shots. So we should expect some more contact. This is a score that favors contact for us because we're the 4-way player. You know, if you don't know your take points or gammon values, you should slap yourself on the hand right now and figure them out for the score. The gammon values especially make a big difference. The 4-way player's take point is 24.5%. The 3-way player's take point is about 21.5%. But the gammon values on the 2-cube are what really make the score so interesting sometimes. When 4-way, on a 2-cube here, we're going to assume 4-way might cube sometime soon. I'll get more into that in a minute. But the gammon value for the 4-way player on 2-cube is about 1, whereas for the 3-way player, it's closer to money. It's closer to 0.5. So that staggered gammon value really favors any position where the 4-way player has a lot more contact. So by slotting 13-4, we keep more contact. What we're going to do by having that checker on the 22 point is we're going to get a lot more indirect shots. And we just cover more, we cover more outfield territory there, so it makes black harder to bring home without leaving shots. On top of that, I think, down the line, at some point we may want to anchor. Obviously, if we rolled a better number for anchoring, perhaps a 4-2 or a 6-4, we'd anchor right away. We don't really need to anchor right now because black doesn't have any offensive progress. We're not really under any firepower right now, so we can concentrate on our side of the board since it's so strong already. But some point down the line, we may want to anchor, take that anchor, and the only way to do that is obviously have a second checker back. So if we run right now, we forfeit not only coverage, but the ability to ever anchor. So we take a look here at the analysis, and we're going to see a very large difference in plays. 13-4 being the best play here, and running just being a pretty large blunder, running the back checker out. So when I first looked at this position, I did play 13-4. I kept the contact more or less because of the score. The score really yelled at contact for me. And the last thing I thought was I played 13-4 and imagined in my head, then I went through all black's numbers. Might seem like a tedious process to you, but it is a very good thing to get into the habit of doing in some positions. Why I went through all the numbers to see how they played is I wanted to see how often black's going to leave a direct or an indirect shot immediately, because that's pretty big for me. In fact, I thought at the time it was big enough, depending on how bad the roll is, I might be able to cube right away at the score, because there's going to be a fair amount of market loss with the amount of gammons that come out of making this play if black rolls poorly. So that was in the back of my head. So I went through all the rolls. I kept the contact. And I played 13-4 for that reason. What I didn't get at the time was why there's such a huge difference in plays. I thought it would be closer, basically.
I'm interrupting Stick here for 1 second. When he says he went through all the rolls, that's something that sounds like it's very tedious, but it can be done very quickly if you do it in an organized fashion and if you get used to doing it more often. Start out with 6-6 and see, does that leave a shot? No. 6-5? Absolutely. 6-3. Yeah, that leaves an indirect shot. 6-3 makes the 5-point. It's a great roll, but it does leave an indirect shot. Just keep going down the rolls and see how many you come up with. I think I came up with about 15 when I did it. And then you can check it. You can go to Analyze Dice Distribution in Extreme Gammon, and you can actually see which rolls are in red or bad rolls, and those are usually the ones that leave the shots, and you can see if you counted right and check yourself. And the more you do that, the better you'll get at it. So just a little tip on how to do this. Stick probably doesn't check himself anymore because he's so fast and so accurate. But at the same time, whether it's 13 shots, 15 shots, 17 shots, if you're in that ballpark, that's a lot, and that's immediate. So that supports very, very well what Stick is saying. If you do this and you find out there's only four numbers that leave shots, you might well think of a different strategy. And it could be 4 numbers that leave shots if black wasn't so stripped and had more points made, or if your position was different. But in a position like this, after you've done the counting a few times, you actually don't really need to count that much. Stick probably could have closed his eyes and, without going through all the rolls, guessed an approximate number of shots and probably would have come close. I'm not quite that good, but I could have come fairly closer in the ballpark. But again, it doesn't take that long, and it's a critical part of this analysis. Now back to Stick.
And at the score. So again, I always like to look at things at a normal match score, just because I like to have a better feel for that and then adjust for the score. And in a normal match score, they are closer. But still, it's right to play 13-4 even at a normal match score, but it's a much smaller error. Another thing I wanted to do was, I thought perhaps because of we aren't ahead much in the race. Obviously, if you would think we were ahead more in the race, it would lean us toward running more. I also didn't exactly like the distribution when we ran to the midpoint. The 5 on the midpoint and the bare 8-point, I didn't feel like that was a great distribution. So I wanted to look at a variant. The variant was pretty simple. Just play 13-8. Now that gives us 5 more pips, which you think would push us more towards running. You know, we have a bigger racing lead. And it also leaves us a lot more flexible position. I feel like with the 4-3, the 4 on the midpoint, and the 3 on the 8-point, than the 5-2 structure of the other play. So I actually thought doing this, again, at the score, I didn't think it would be right, especially after seeing the analysis that XG already gave me for 408 but I did think it would be closer. And actually, if XG wakes up here, sorry, this has been open for, when you leave your instances of XG open for days on end, it takes a while to wake up when you first try to throw a position into it. So you see, even after that, it's still right to play 13-4, and it's still clearly right. It still didn't make hardly much of a difference, those 5 pips in that distribution. I thought it would have made more of a difference. So what I did after all that was I wanted to see if my thoughts were right on the position, that with the original position here, where if I slotted, maybe with black's bad rolls, I would have a cube. I'd make a 4-point right away, or I'd have a cube shortly down the road anytime I saw daylight. So I'd recommend you doing this yourself, just playing it out. You don't have to play out the entire game. You can just play it out till you see whether white gets a cube or not sometime in the near future. And that's what I did, and you'll see how quickly you're supposed to be doubling at this score as a 4-way player. That's always one exercise I love doing. It's the best exercise there is for positions. It's just to play them out, play them out, play them out. You not only understand the original position better and what was going on, but you get to understand things down the line as to maybe why you didn't understand the original position. Because if you don't understand that, this immediate turn coming up as a 4-way player, after, your next turn, that you'll have a cube, when he leaves some, indirects or direct shots, then of course you're going to lean more towards the running play than the slotting play if you don't understand that aspect of it. So the only drawback of that exercise is that we all only have a finite amount of time, and that always takes a long time. But that's usually what I sit around doing anymore. I'll play out a game until I get some interesting position, and then I'll stick that position in and play it out, play it out, play it out. And then usually playing out that position, I'll run into some other position I didn't understand and just try and do that again. It's an endless circle of backgammon showing me what I don't know about the game. So that is about all I have for this position. I hope I covered everything that I had wanted to. If you have any feedback, you can always feel free to email me or leave, I don't know, you can probably leave comments on the USBGF page, but I'm not sure to see that because I don't always check there. So thanks. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye.
So leave comments on the USBGF page, either on the Facebook page or on the USBGF page, and I'll see that they get to Stick. And again, thanks, Stick, for this excellent analysis. And as he stated, he'll be doing more. We'll also be seeing more from Mary Hickey, Malcolm Geyer, Perry Gartner, and Steve Sachs, Bob Coca, and other really fine backgammon players and analysts. Stay tuned and support the USBGF so you can keep watching these videos. Bye-bye.